Hello, Rick. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing okay, I guess. How are you?
Okay. I'm well. Sorry, I was running late. Thank you, thank you. Andy is a new member. I'm just gonna hit these chats. Lynn, hi Cindy, Rick, everyone here this evening.
Oh, let me shut this down.
Woo. You got your phone on?
Yeah, I just turned down the volume.
Yeah, that's what I do on Wednesdays is I have my phone sitting right next to the computer and I turn the volume down because it's like boop. I know Brian is in the background, maybe watching, but he's got a lot to do.
Yeah.
Karen is listening, driving home. Be careful.
Oh,
Cat in the north. Hi, Rick and
yeah.
Cindy and everyone. Hello.
Hi, Kat.
This is Andy. Hello, Andy, and thank you for becoming a member. I saw that when I signed on here. Carnivore K, hello, everyone. This is my sister Deb saying
Yep.
hi.
Hi,
She's
Deb.
probably driving too, so be careful. Lisa Ortega, I made it. And Kat saying hi. So, Rick, now I know from you sending me your story, but what you tell us, what got you started on keto, as much as you want to share with us, it's all yours. And if anybody has any questions, I'm gonna hold off on the comments. I'm gonna keep them going, but I'll get back to them. But Jeff's
Okay.
story or Rick's story, I just read Jeff's name. Rick's story is absolutely incredible. And Jeff Foltz is here. Hello, friends. All right, Rick, it's all yours.
All right. Um, I'm not sure where to start, but I guess I'll start back in 1968. I had a lesson in school one day about life in the future. So that lesson stuck with me. And that's one reason um, everything kind of grows from that lesson in school in 1968. So we
And
bought this property. What's that?
that lesson was
Life in the future,
okay.
and they covered a lot of topics. One of the topics was um, standard American diet, how that would be terrible for us, and would cause the food would be terrible, be loaded with pesticides and um, chemicals and all kinds of unnatural stuff that would create health problems for
Right.
us. And they said that it would cause obesity and diabetes and all kinds of health issues, and that we would eventually have to go back to eating proper food. And that always stuck with me. So a lot of things sprang out of that lesson. One is the property that we own now is partly because of that lesson. So I wanted to get off of store bought food. So we bought this 12 acres here. I wanted to grow our own food, either livestock or vegetables, fruits, and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one thing that we did. My channel kind of sprung or grew. It started off as a channel for motorcycle riding videos, but I quickly transformed it into homesteading, and it's not even much of that right now for various reasons. But so the property that we have kind of is a result of that lesson that I had in school.
Mm-hmm.
So that lesson stuck with me, and I remember back in the 1980s, noticed people getting larger, and I tried telling people at the time, said, I had a lesson back in school about how the standard American diet would be bad for us, and I think people are getting bigger because of this terrible food. And people said, no, you don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, over the course of years, I just dropped it. Um, didn't say anything about it to anybody. Uh, but I was healthy. I was careful about what I ate. Being married with kids and having a tight budget, I wasn't able to go out and grow my own food. Wasn't able to buy the best food, so we were buying the store bought food, being as careful as possible. So up into my 50s, I was pretty healthy. I was active, always out working on the properties or going out somewhere, playing hockey. So I was pretty active and healthy. But in the meantime, there, I'll kind of spring forward a little bit. And so
Yeah.
I switched doctors a couple of years ago. And so the first meeting, she's a naturopathic doctor. And the meetings, the usual appointments are an hour long. The first appointment is 2 hours. And she goes over everything. So one of the things she asked me was, well, how was your childhood? I said, my childhood was fine. It was fine. My adulthood is the problem.
Yeah.
I had a lot of problems in my adulthood, a lot of traumatic events. So in 1985, we had a daughter born prematurely, and she didn't make it. So she died shortly after being born. So that hurt. So that was kind of like a punch in the gut. But we went on. And then in 1992, our oldest son, he was 16, was hit by a car crossing the road. And he died. So that was another kind of like a punch in the face. And that hurt. And then in 2001, I was coming home. I was playing hockey one night. I was coming home in some freezing rain, and the roads were shut down, and long story, but eventually my car, I think the distributor got wet. My car stalled on the road going up a hill. So I pulled over. A few minutes later, the police chief came up behind me. We were standing between the two cars talking, and a car came over the crest of the hill, slid down the hill, slammed into my car, scooped me up, slammed me into the cruiser. Had a lot of internal injuries, broke both of my femurs, had titanium rods installed. So I was in the hospital for a month and in a wheelchair for a few months, had to learn to walk again. So that had a real, I didn't even think about it too much at the time. I know I was having some ill effects emotionally, but I didn't think too much of it at the time. But it really affected me. So when I was still in the hospital, I was in the first hospital where they brought me after the accident. Then they transferred me a week later to a rehab hospital. In the first hospital, I was in bed one day, and I got an anxiety attack, and the walls started closing in on me, just like you see in a movie. The walls were closing in on me. So I hit the buzzer for the nurses. They came in. I said, "You better do something. I need something. I don't know. The walls are closing in on me." So that was the first issue I had as a result of that accident. First emotional or psychological effect I had. No, I didn't think a whole lot of it, but after that, I was having some, I guess, PTSD issues. I was claustrophobic.
That's what I was going to say. Some type of PTSD from that accident and everything else prior to
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So that slowed me down a little bit physically because of the limitations I have with the rods in my legs. And even now, this is 23 years later, even now I have some limitations with my legs. But anyway, I moved on from that best I could. And then in 2011, so about 10 years later, our second son, youngest son, died. It was a drug overdose. And that one hit me really hard. And I kind of went over the edge after that. That was the first one was a punch in the gut. The second one was a punch in the face. And the third one was a 2x4 across the side of my head. And that one really affected me. And I started having a lot of different issues going on. And so I hadn't really gone to the doctor much until then. I was 53 or so, and hadn't gone to the doctor all that much. It went if something, if I was sick, I would go to the doctor. So I went to the doctor, and before that, my blood pressure was always fine, but I was jumpy, I was twitching, all kinds of things going on. So I went to the doctor. They took my blood pressure and they said, "Well, your blood pressure is 190 over 100. It's a little high." So he said, "How long has it been that high?" I said, "Well, not that long. A few years ago, I had it checked and it was like 120 over 70." Uh, well, I'll back up to the lesson in school in 1968. They said the food would be bad for us. They said that the medical profession wouldn't be all that great because the doctors wouldn't be taught proper nutrition, schooling, education. So I didn't have a whole lot of faith in the traditional doctors because they wheel you in, or it's like an assembly line. They come into the waiting or into the exam room. They come in a few minutes later, they ask you a few questions, and then they shove you out the door in 10 or 15 minutes. So I didn't have a whole lot of faith with the traditional doctors. So this doctor was questioning my blood pressure and all these other things going on. I'm twitching and shaking, can't sleep, I was jumpy. So I said, "Could this have something to do with all these past events?" He said, No, it's got nothing to do with that. You just, you're getting older, your blood pressure's going up because of that. And the other stuff, I don't know, take this pill, it's like a depression pill or something. Take that. I think you're just depressed. So I did that for a few years and nothing changed. In the meantime, I was getting my lab results, once a year, getting the lab results. I started going to the doctor once a year, going back to the same doctor. Nothing changed. But I get the lab results every year. And my glucose was started off around in the 80s, and I saw that it was climbing over time. It was finally up into the upper 90s. They decided to do check my A1C, and it was about 5.6. I think it was 5.6.
The high end of normal.
Yeah. So I was going back to the same doctor's office, but this was a different doctor. Not even the doctor, it's the physician assistant, whatever they call them. Mm-hmm. So the first one was a male. He left. This woman came in to replace him. So I went and saw her a couple of times. So the last time I went in, she said, "Well, your A1C is 5.6. And at that point, I didn't really know anything about A1Cs. So she said, "Well, it's getting up there. So we're going to put you on metformin right away. Try to keep that from getting any higher." So, okay, I don't even know what metformin is. But okay. So I started taking the metformin. Meantime, nothing else is getting better. My glucose is still climbing. It started getting up into the low hundreds. So I had one of like 104, another one at 113. So I get up to December of 2021. I went in November of 2021. I went into the doctor. They wouldn't release me because my blood pressure was so high. So they kept me there for an hour or two. Then they released me. And they kept saying, "Well, you got to do something about that blood pressure. You got to do something about that blood pressure." I said, yeah, okay, all right. So that was about the time I thought, I'm done with these doctors. I'm going to have to figure something else out. So that day, I went back to work. I had the appointment first thing in the morning. I went to work after that. And this was a really high-stress job. And we had a new manager come in to municipal government. I was working for a city. And I had a new manager. And I walk into the building, and he calls me in his office. And says, shut the door, sits me down. Said, "Is your health affecting your job performance?" And I said,
"Wow."
"What?" He says, "Your health affecting your job performance." Second time, I said, "What?" I'm thinking I'm hearing him wrong. He said, "I said, is your health affecting your job performance?" I said, no, I think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
It was a great place to work until he came and he drove morale into the ground. He was working us 70 to 80 hours a week. It's
Jeez.
just really high stress. So that was at the time I was thinking I have to get out of this job too. So that was kind of the final straw with that job. So I left and went to work at another municipality, and that was another high stress job. So I went from the fire to the frying pan. But at that point, I said, I've got to do something. So I was trying to figure out what to do. I was getting a little more active, studying more about proper nutrition and proper food to eat, studying up on A1C and all the lab work that you get done, getting a little more educated on all that. So I changed my diet a little bit, kind of tweaked it a little bit, and things were a little better. But I was still in that second high stress job. And so about a year later, I came home one day all stressed out, and I told my wife, I've got to do something. I can't keep this up. My blood glucose is still climbing, and I don't feel good. And if I stay at this job much longer, I'm going to pop a cork. So I told her, I said, I've been looking online, watching YouTube videos, and I think we both need to change our diets. So she wasn't thrilled about it, but she said, yeah, okay. It was primarily me. She did most of it for me, changed most of my diet. So it was about that time. It was December of 2021 or January 2022, somewhere in there.
Mhm.
I went on YouTube and I punched something in like proper food, proper diet for people, something like that. I forget what it was. And the first video that popped up was Dr. Ken Berry.
Yep.
So I watched I forget what video it was. I clicked on that video, whichever one it was. And he started talking about the proper human diet. We all know about that. He started talking about the proper human diet. And I thought, this guy's talking about the same exact thing that I learned back in school in 1968, that we have to eat proper food. So I started watching his videos. I've watched others since, but I started watching his videos and started learning more about what to eat. So that helped quite a bit. My blood pressure has come down. I think it's up a little high now because of recent events, and we can get into that later. But I started feeling better. Gave my wife a list of things that I wanted to eat. We found farms in the area that sell meats that are grass-fed, and so they've got they're raised on their farm, they're processed locally, they've got no hormones, no chemicals or anything in their system. It's delicious meat. So we started getting our meats locally, started growing more of our own vegetables. There's some other farms too that we go to. There's another farm where we got our unpasteurized milk and ghee and kefir. So there's 3 different farms that we would go to. One for vegetables, fruit and vegetables, one for milk, one for meat. So that was December of 21, January 22, somewhere around there. And then, so I hadn't gone back to that doctor. I fired them. And then in April of 22, so a few months later, I quit that high stress job. I retired. I came home one day and told my wife, I can't do it anymore. I've got to retire. I can collect my state pension. I'll get something to live on. I'll just take some time, 6 months, a year, whatever it is. And I'm just going to decompress and play around the property here, play with the grandkids. So I did that for about a year. It wasn't enough to live on, so I had plans to do some other things, work part-time here and there. But that was April of 2022. And before that, and what's the channel name? It's Bob. Can't think of his name now, but he talks about how he could barely walk, and I had the same issue. I had so much inflammation in my legs, my ankles, that I could barely walk.
Mhm.
So it was so bad that if I had to walk somewhere, even in the house here, I'd plan everything out. So, okay, I'm getting up. I'm going to walk, into the living room. So, is there anything else I need to do on the way there or the way back? Because I don't want to have to get up again and do it later. So, about April of 2022, I started feeling better. By that June, July, August, I was walking 3 miles a day. I'd go out every day and walk. I'd go into one of the local towns where they had a sidewalk, and I just walk up the sidewalk 1.5 miles one way and 1.5 miles back the other way. Dropped 50 pounds in the process. I was 190 pounds when I started, when I changed my diet. And that's a lot of weight for me. I should be 140, 150. So I dropped 50 pounds. I was down to 140. I've since put on a little bit. I got up to about 150 and leveled off. But I put on a few more pounds over the last couple of months.
Yep.
So I was feeling great. And then in August of 22, I started seeing the naturopathic doctor. And she's fantastic. And she's 100% behind what I'm doing. Strong proponent of eating once a day or twice a day, having a long fasting period. So most of my days I'm fasting at least 16 to 18 hours a day, usually 20 hours a day if I eat twice. Some days I'll eat once, so I go 24 hours without eating. As a result of all that, my blood pressure went back to normal. I had some readings that were down like 110/60. So I told my doctor about that. I said, I wonder if it's getting too low. She says, no, that's fine. As long as it doesn't get much lower than that, you're fine. But it's usually 120, 130/65, 75. So
You're good.
Perfect. My glucose has leveled off and dropped a little bit. I was getting my blood work done every 3 or 4 months. It's been a year since I had it done. So I've actually got the box here somewhere, the lab box here to bring back to the hospital and get it drawn again. So I'll be doing that probably next week. Just with everything going on in the last few months, I haven't had the time or desire to do it. But the glucose, and I check it often. I don't know what it is, but it'll dip down. I go through this cycle up and down like a roller coaster, and it'll dip down into the mid 80s usually. Sometimes I get down like 78, 79, but it's usually around 84, 86, 88. It'll dip down into the mid 80s, and then it'll climb back up to 95 to 100 for a couple of days, and dip back down. This is over about 10 days. It'll go down, back up, back down, back up. I don't know why. The A1C is hovering around 5.5 to 5.7. It'll bounce back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So what I've done is a little bit of an experiment. I've cut out a lot of vegetables. Even though there aren't a lot of carbohydrates in the vegetables, I've cut a lot of those out. So I'm probably more like 95% carnivore now, just
Mhm.
meats. I'll have an occasional small salad now and then, or once or twice a month, or I'll have some celery with peanut butter. That's kind of my snack if I'm in the mood for a
Yum.
snack. Yeah. So that's about it. So I've been doing that for a couple of months now.
Okay. hold that thought because I know
Yep.
where we're headed now.
Okay.
Charlie's here saying hi. This is my husband, Brian. He was a big Dale Earnhardt fan and
Oh,
holds
yeah.
that. Everybody's saying hi. Dustin's here. Jeff is saying hi. Jeff has a question for you. What part of the country do you live?
I'm in New Hampshire.
Yes. And it's semi-retired,
Yeah, yeah,
Bob.
yeah, that's
I
it.
could not think of that. Debbie, thank you so much for throwing it up there. I couldn't get to it. Kat says, you are an inspiration, my friend. Jazzy Jews. Good on you. Good on you, Rick, for being curious about your health. Yes. And she's saying hi from San Diego. And Lisa, incredible journey, Rick. And trust me, he's not done. But I have to
Yeah.
tell you, when you were talking about the the death of your kids and the overdose, I have a son who was on some serious drugs for a while. And luckily, he cleaned up his act. I can't even imagine. My heart
That's good.
goes out to you because
Yeah.
I can't even fathom. Sorry, but go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm convinced, and my doctor, the new doctor, confirmed, feels the same way, that all these traumatic events are the primary driver in my health issues.
No doubt.
And
No doubt.
it's the food too, definitely the
Mhm.
food. But I was basically healthy up until the second son died. And part of what happened as a result of that is I was just a couch potato. I'd go to work and come home, sit on the couch, watch TV. My wife would go to bed early. And I just sit on the couch and eat whatever was in the house, cookies, potato chips. But I became a M&M junkie that would eat bags of M&Ms in one sitting, just
Yep.
popping M&Ms. And it was so bad that I'd have a bag in my car on my way to work, and I had
Mhm.
either an hour, depending on where I worked, an hour to hour and a half ride to work. And I'd buy the big family size or party size bag, whatever it is. And I always tell myself, well, I'll just take a few for the ride, just eat a few M&Ms on the ride, and that bag will last me a couple of weeks. I'd go through the bag in a day, maybe 2 days. And that kind of coincides with when my glucose started going up.
Yep.
Yeah. Gee, I wonder why.
Some
But
things I don't know if it's justification or if it's a comfort. As much as we shouldn't look for food as comfort.
yeah,
But come on, there's times where you want something, you're just going to have it. It doesn't matter. And you went through some traumatic times and you had to do something.
yeah.
Self-sabotage wasn't the right thing to do though, Rick. But it's okay. It's okay. We get it. We all get it.
Yeah. So in that the first meeting with the naturopathic doctor, as I said, we went over all kinds of things.
Mhm.
And she, forget how she worded it, but something to the effect, have you ever been diagnosed with PTSD? And I said, no. But I asked my prior doctor, and he said, no, I didn't have PTSD. And she went, she said, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So she asked some more questions related to that. And she said, oh, yeah, definitely. but she's been a big help. I've been going there for a little over 2 years now. And
That's awesome.
the visits now are an hour and we use up every minute.
Mhm.
And it's not, she doesn't sit me down and check my blood pressure and say, okay, here's a pill, take this and see you in a year. We go over all kinds of stuff, and she'll ask. Again, it's not just physical. Discuss emotional things and ways to resolve issues I have because of all the trauma in my life. And I just saw her. I've seen her twice. So the most recent event is that my wife died unexpectedly on
Take your time.
She died unexpectedly on August 27th. She had a heart attack a couple days before that. And had that bypass surgery. And they were telling me the whole time, telling her that everything's going to be fine. You're good, you're strong. Don't worry about it. We'll do the bypass and you'll be out of here in a few days. And she never recovered.
Wow.
So that was August 27th. I had a previously scheduled doctor's appointment for September 3rd. So I went in to see the doctor, and we just spent the hour talking about my wife's death and how I was handling that. And then I went back again. I go see her every 6 to 8 weeks. So I saw her again a week or two ago, and that's what we discussed. We spent an hour discussing how I was handling my wife's death.
I mean, everybody
So-
handles things differently, for sure. But you
Yeah.
getting your story out there is going to help you, and it's going to help so many others. That is just incredible. And I am
that's
so,
why
so sorry for your losses. That it's just, wow.
I was 48 years together. I met her when I was 19. And when first time I saw her, I knew she's the one I want. And we've been together ever since. So it's just a real adjustment. I mean, even stupid little things like I come home from work, walk in the house and think, oh, I don't have anything to eat. I have to take stuff out of the freezer and let it thaw.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I'll have a few cans of sardines and celery or something, eggs, or I'll go
Wow.
out to my friend's restaurant and eat there.
There you go. That works.
Yeah, and this week was really tough because I've been working on a video. So my wife, she really doesn't want to have anything to do. She didn't want to have anything to do with YouTube. She didn't want to be in the videos or anything. But she kept saying, you do all these videos. Why don't you do a video for me? Do something, whatever. You do something for me. I said, well, what do you want? I don't know. You just do the video. You think it up. You figure it out. So she started asking about that a few months back. And I kept saying, yeah, I'll do it. But I was busy with other videos and busy with working on the property. I had a lot of work to do around the property this past summer. So I was trying to get all that done. And I was thinking, well, I'll do the video for her in the fall or the winter when I have more time. But that never happened.
Well, now
Uh,
it's going to be a tribute video, and she will
Yeah.
see it.
yeah.
She will see it.
Yeah.
And yes, and I am waiting to see it because, whoa.
Yeah. It was
Jason,
really difficult to
just
do. It took a
Jason
lot of
Keto,
time.
just Jason Keto said hello.
Hey, Jason.
Karen's praying hands. Oh my goodness, I've got my tissues out. I'm so sorry. Trust me, they're here. James, I'm so sorry. This is triggering me. My heart goes out to you, says Dustin. Cat in the north, I'm so very sorry to hear this about your wife, Rick. My heart and prayers go out to you. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to read these and be good. Jazzy Jude, prayers. May God's loving arms surround you during this time. Prayers. I'm so sorry. This is hard. I need somebody else to read for me. That's heartbreaking. I'm so sorry for your loss. And Deb, praying prayers for your family. I mean, everybody. It's just okay. This video is going to be so healing for you, I think.
Yeah, hopefully.
I'm sure it's hard. I can't even imagine. But
Yeah, it was.
wow.
I had to pull out all the old photographs, 48 years worth of photographs, and actually more than that because I went back to before I knew her when she was small. Photos of her when she was a little girl.
Wow.
So I had to find all the photographs. They were in albums and plastic bins and stuff. I had to go through all those and decide which photos I wanted to use, and take them out of the albums and photograph them. It was days and days worth of work.
Wow.
So I was trying to get it done and posted last night, but my computer, it's just a beat up old computer, and if there's too much in the video, it won't process it properly. It can't render it properly, and it gets pixelated.
I know. That's why I've decided when it's a long one, I'm going to divide it up into parts because it's just easier for me that way. And what? I just get more videos posted that way. Brian says, I feel for you. So sorry for your losses. Like I told you backstage, he lost his second wife. So he yeah. Karen says, now you have a whole community praying along with you and for you.
So the video's done. But I'll have to buy another computer and get some other editing software and finish it up. So I might get that done this weekend.
I think you'll have everybody waiting. Here's his link again. If you're not following Rick, there's his link. Please do so. But anyhow, so health-wise, I know emotions have got to be all over the place. You got off your medications, I'm assuming. That stupid metformin that you should never have been given. That was like your A1C was normal. It was in the normal range most always. Yeah. And the doctors are just crazy. Just absolutely crazy.
Yeah. When I started seeing my new doctor, she said, well, stay on the metformin for a little while. Let's see what happens. Give it a little time. We'll watch the blood work. So I stopped 6 months ago, something like that. Mm-hmm. I went in and I said, I'm ready. I've got to get off this stuff. I never wanted to be on any medication.
Right.
I had already gotten off the blood pressure medications. That blood pressure went back to normal probably about a year ago.
That's awesome.
So I said, okay, that's fine. And I said, I want to get off the metformin. She said, okay, well, if you think it's time, then I'm with you. She said, you know better. You know what your body's feeling, so you know better. If you think it's time to get off it, then we'll get you off it.
Yeah, we definitely do know better. Jazzy says, I'm going through deaths myself right now. This video will help me. That's,
Well,
yes.
that's why I'm here. If I can help somebody.
I am so glad that you agreed to do this. And he said, Rick had sent me his story. And it was like, holy cow. But yeah.
So on my lab tests, I get them done through Boston Heart. And so what they have, I used to get them done when I went to the other doctor. I got them done through Quest Diagnostics. And all they give you is the result and whether it's normal or not normal. But with Boston Heart, they have 3 columns. So one is if the result for that one test is good, then it's green. It gives you the number,
Right.
and puts it in the green column. And it's high. And when I've got them here, these are black and white. But so this is the green column. These are good. These are borderline. They're in yellow, and then these are red. They're way out of whack. So this was the first one I had done when I started seeing the new doctor. And this was even a little better than the old test I had done with the prior doctor, because I had already changed my diet. So the numbers are already a little better.
Right.
But you can see that about a third of the results were in red, a third were in yellow, and actually a little less than a third, about a third, were in green.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one I had done was November of last year.
The reds are all gone.
Reds are all gone. And some of these, I can't really see them here, but a lot of these yellows are right on the border of being green. So I'm hoping that
Next ones will be more green.
Yeah, but you see almost, it's probably 50-50 right now between green and yellow. And a lot of those yellows, if everything keeps improving, those will drop into the green.
That's awesome.
I was up until recently, I was sleeping really, really well. Best I've ever slept since I was a child.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a younger adult, I could get away with 3 to 4 hours of sleep. That's all I needed. And then after the death of each child, I slept a little less. And then after the death of the second son in 2011, I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep. I might catch, like a light nap here and there, but I didn't really sleep. So after changing my diet, I started sleeping better. I'd sleep 6 to 8 hours a night. After my wife died, I was sleeping 10 to 12 hours a day. The last few nights I haven't slept well, but that's, I think, because of just emotional stuff. Trying to put that video together. I was staying up late. First of all, I was just staying up late, working on that, staying up till 11, 12 o'clock. One night I stayed up till 2 a.m. working on that. So I didn't get to sleep till 3 a.m. and I got up at 7. But even sleeping wasn't all that great. It's too stressful. I think once I get the video done, hopefully, then I can maybe get back to sleeping normally.
Right. Yeah, it just takes time. You know, you got to give yourself time.
Yeah.
And anybody would need that.
Yeah. I got away from my exercise routine too. Uh, one thing my doctor kept telling me is, you got to get your heart pumping. So you're doing good. You're doing good. And I said, yeah, I'm walking 3 miles a day. He says, yeah, you're doing good, but you need to get your heart pumping. You've got to do something really strenuous. Get that heart pumping. So what I started doing back in, I think it was April or May, I started running in circles around my backyard. Now it's about a 80-foot or 100-foot diameter. And I said earlier that I have problems with my legs. So to run is quite a chore for me. But
that was going to be my question. Having had 2 broken femurs, and that's the worst bone in your body you can break. How can you do that? That is incredible to get through that. It's like,
well, the worst part was 2 things. Number one is the surgeon that inserted the rods kind of screwed up. And so when he inserted the rods, what they do is they go in through the knee and then drill out the bone marrow in the femur, and they pound the rod in. And so what he did is he inserted screws, 3 screws, one up by my hip at the top end of the femur, on each femur, put a screw in to hold the rod in place. Then he put 2 screws in at the bottom down in the knee. And the upper screw down in the knee on each side went right through. And so the tip of the screw was sticking out. So every time I moved my knee and my leg, it was digging into the muscles there.
ouch.
And it was like that for 3 months. And I kept telling the therapist, I had to go to physical therapy. I kept telling the therapist, there's something wrong. There's something wrong. It hurts. And they said, oh, it's just from the accident. You'll heal up. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. So finally, one day I said, no, there's something wrong. It's been 3 months. I'm not doing this anymore. I want x-rays. There's something wrong there. So she said, well, describe what it feels like. So I said, all right, it's like, let me take a steak knife and jam it into the side of your knee. Now you move your knee. That's what it feels like. So they took x-rays and said, oh, yeah, the screws are sticking out. So I went back in for outpatient surgery. They just cut me open again on the outside of my knee and pulled the screws out. But it caused damage. I still, to this day, have problems there. There's a little bone spur or something, a little lump on each knee on the inside where that screw is sticking out. Some kind of, I don't know if it's calcium growth or what it is.
Wow.
Arthritis, I don't know. So what happens is the muscles or ligaments or whatever catch that. It's like it's a rubber band effect, and that ligament will snap. It'll catch that snap as I move.
Oh,
That hurt.
dang.
So when I walk, when I run, when I go upstairs, downstairs, where I'm putting any kind of pressure on my knees and moving, I have to be careful of that. So that's problem one. But I think I mentioned earlier that my muscles, my legs never fully recovered. They were just squashed like pancakes. And the muscles, the thigh muscles and all the upper muscles there just never fully recovered. So when I try to run, they are screaming in pain, but I push through it.
I guess. Dang, dude. I'd be like, it hurts. I mean, I've had both of my knees replaced. I can't imagine. No. I can't. Oh, dang. James says, with his situation, I've improved marginally in my situation over the past few months. Yes, it takes time, much more time than I thought.
Yeah.
And Karen's prayers for Jazzy. And Jazzy says, ouch, that's what I'm saying. It's like going through all that and running. I'd be happy with just walking.
Yeah. So who was it that said it takes time?
James.
Yeah. Well, it certainly does. And I was getting frustrated. I was progressing, but I wanted to progress much faster. And my doctor said, it took you, this was a couple of years ago, so it took you 65 years to get this way. You're not going to change it overnight. It's going to take time.
Yeah. I think
It's
he
just,
meant with the situation, it takes time to get from your losses, especially
yeah.
losing your wife. I think that's what he was talking about. But yes.
Yeah.
Brenda
Yeah.
Foley, good evening. You are going to have to restart this when we're over and watch this at some point because you missed a lot. But I'm glad you're here now. But yes, I can't imagine. Having lived in New Hampshire for from 2003 to 2021 and knowing how bitter cold it is and how much snow, I can't imagine the pain you go through just because of the weather. Because, holy cow, just replay
Yeah.
tomorrow. It's just so, and then the snow. What part of New Hampshire? I know we talked about this, but I forgot.
I'm in the Lakes region, just south of the White Mountains. So about halfway up the state, if you look at it.
Yeah. Well, I told you we used to live in Nashua. That's where
Yeah.
Brian is from. Our
Yeah.
next trip, we're going to have to hook up so we can actually meet you.
Yeah.
Yes, correct,
It'd
Cindy.
be nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know it's quite a distance, but I believe Brian has been up to the White Mountains. I have not, but I believe he has, considering he was born and raised in Nashua. You know, he was the traveler. Him and his family, they went everywhere. But yeah.
Yeah, I was born in Springfield, Mass, and then grew up
I'm
outside of
sorry.
Hartford. Yeah, me too.
It's a bad place. Jazzy said, what's helping me is to keep busy, both crafting and trying to do daily walks. Well, it sounds like he's running too.
Well, yeah, I that's what I was saying. Is I dropped that. We had that really hot weather, and I was running through part of that, but then it just got too hot. And I thought, well, I'll just wait till the heat breaks. And this was probably mid-July. I'll wait for the heat to break, and then I'll start it again. But I was still busy working around the property. I had 7 trees taken down. I was cutting those up. So I was working hard with those, lifting. I was purposely doing a lot of it manually, lifting the logs and tossing them just to stay active.
Takes out a lot of frustration too.
Yeah. So I was still active. And then until my wife went into the hospital in August. And then after that, I just kind of became a couch potato again. So I'm just now getting back to my usual routine. I was going to go out today and walk my the old 3 mile route that I used to walk. Well, I started my running in the circle. And I did that once or twice. And I thought, nah, I'm going to start walking first before I start running again.
Yeah. Oh no. Now, at Keto Palooza next year, you really need to try to go.
Yeah.
It's just incredible experience. But on Sunday, they do a walk. And they do a 1.5 mile, a 3 mile, or a 4.5 mile walk. And it's over the bridge into Indiana and back to Louisville. And that's the one we do. And it's so beautiful. The area. It's like you're crossing over the Ohio River, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
The sunrise was beautiful. It's like everything. It's just great. But anyhow, yeah, you need to try to go next year.
Yeah.
But grab your tickets right away when they go on sale because they are going to sell out quick. I don't doubt it.
Yeah. Yep. I'm planning to go.
Yes.
One of my goals is once I get my knees fixed, figure out what those little spurs are. And I was going to do that a couple of months ago, but didn't get it done.
Oh, you were
I
a
get
little
those
busy.
fixed. Yeah. My goal is to start hiking the mountains. Now I forget how many. I think there's 48 4,000-foot mountains in New Hampshire. So my goal is to hike every one of them.
Woo.
I don't know if I'll ever do it, but that's my goal.
Hey, Jazzy said, "You've got this, Rick. I don't feel alone, and maybe I can virtually walk with you." That's awesome, Jazzy.
Yeah, it's great.
Yes. And it's you're you're never alone in this community. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. I was away, pretty much away from YouTube for a couple of months. I just had no desire. And I've been slowly kind of getting back into it. And what I've been doing is going on a lot of lives because it's quiet here. I come home and it's quiet. So it's helpful to get onto a live, at least have somebody to watch, listen to, chat in the chat. Otherwise,
I see you. When I can get into a live from when I'm not bowling. I miss some because I'm bowling because Dustin won't change his to Wednesdays. Lisa said that's an awesome goal, Rick.
Yeah.
Hiking the mountains is so healing and energizing. It's one of my favorite things to do. Well, Debbie, this is my sister. She can fly up to New Hampshire and go hiking with you through the snow, through the cold.
She's welcome to.
I can go on walks, but hiking, I don't know. I could probably do it, but I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know if I can do it, but I'll start small.
Yes.
See if I
Obviously.
can walk up a little hill or something. I have trouble walking up staircases.
Dustin says we have the granddaughter on Wednesdays later than normal, so they can't do it on Wednesdays. And why would you actually change it just for me anyway? I'm just, if you're in Dustin's chat live streams, he's harassing me all the time. All the time. Jazzy says, I can watch you hike. Yes. Record them. There you go. Sounds like a great goal.
Well, I might do
involved. That. I'm sorry, Rick.
I might do that. I might record some.
That would be amazing.
And
Brian said, I've been throughout the state above Laconia and Meredith, he's asking.
West of Meredith.
Okay. Dustin said harassment with love. Dogs.
So yeah, I might record some of that once I start doing it. So I have a thought. I don't know if I should share it or not.
Well, James says he can do is strap on a GoPro.
Yep. Yeah, I've got a GoPro.
You have a GoPro?
Yeah.
There you go. So what was your thought? Share
maybe
away.
Maybe starting. I started thinking about this back in June or July, and I dropped it. Maybe starting another channel devoted to my health journey, and calling it Rebuilding Rick.
There you go. So let me see. Let me go back to your channel. Got to spell it right first. I'm still here. I'm just on another tab. You have 1,000, little over 1,000 subscribers. And if they're faithful subscribers, they'll follow you.
Yeah.
Yes. Dustin, I think you should buy me a package. No. GoPro. Costco has GoPro 13 packages on sale right now. Christmas is coming, and I will see you in a few weeks, Dustin. I expect an early Christmas gift. Andy says, "Oh, rebuilding Rick would be awesome." I agree. I agree. That's a great channel name. And Kat is in it too. I said seconds the channel. I like the sound of the second channel name. Cindy, the way my bank account is set up, hey, I don't care. I need a Sony vlogging camera, just saying. There you go, Dustin. Now you got 2 gifts that you got to have by the 9th. There's an indie meetup on the 9th that we're going to in Indiana, Amo, Indiana. That's a bit of a jaunt for some of you. It's like 3.5 hour drive for me and Brian, but it's okay.
I used to drive through Indiana a lot. It seemed like every time I went through Indiana, they had torrential downpours and tornadoes. Haven't driven through Indiana in a long time.
Depending on the time of year. Andy, I want the Sony ZV-1. I can't wait for the meetup. Yes. Mine's cheaper, only 500. Your wish is over 900, she says. They're messing around. Yeah, you know who's not here tonight? Sean. Wow. He'll have to watch a replay. Everyone go subscribe to Rick's channel. Yes, and I'm going to post it again because,
thank you.
Yes. Hey, I'm on it. I'm going to ask you, Rick, to avoid Indiana then. Ha ha. Because it brought the bad weather. Or Evelyn. Yes, Evelyn's missing. Sean is missing. What is going on? They better have good excuse for not being here. That's all I got to say.
Better have a note from their mothers.
That's right. Or their doctors if they had to do that, or so whatever excuse. And Dustin has subbed to your channel.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, like I was telling Rick backstage before we started live that I found him through Sana, because I believe you were subscribed to Sana and you would come in through her channel when we started doing the lives together. And I am so thankful that you jumped on board and subbed with me and everything. And Sana is having some health concerns. She has real bad vertigo. She's been seeing the doctor. Her baby is a month old, I believe. Cute. Friday, some people like going out into the world. That is overrated. That's just, it's expensive and overrated. Jazzy subscribed. Andy subscribed. And Dustin TGIF. I don't care. It is Friday. It's just another day when you're retired, though.
Yeah, I miss not being retired. I mean, I miss being retired.
Well, I'm busier now with bowling, and we're trying to do this reselling thing and thinking about starting a second channel for that. And I mean, just so much. JJ, hey, y'all. JJ, I got to meet briefly at Keto Palooza. Sadly, we didn't get to talk much or get pictures. So next year, we're going to agree Sana gets cured. Prayers. Yes. She's been through enough in the past. So, yes. I'm busy. The kids, Chandra, and the granddaughter keep me busy. Busy is good. Karen subscribed. After my crazy day at work today, I am more than happy today is Friday. Yes. I remember working those days. There's always next year. Exactly, JJ. So if anybody has any questions for Rick, please put them in the chat. And now that we're all caught up with the chat, so other than finishing your video that everybody's going to want to see, what else is going on? You're still working part-time, right?
Well, full time.
Full-time.
Retired. I was retired fully for a year. The plan was to do some contracting work. So I don't want to tell people what I am because then they'll hate me. But I'm the property tax assessor.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
just keep them in New Hampshire because property taxes suck in New Hampshire. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I was so
Yeah.
glad to get away from that. Jazzy
Yeah.
says, I'm retired, busier than ever. The boy that just got a new car on Tuesday got his car towed last night because he forgot to move the parking tag. Well, he's going to learn a lesson, and Eddie had to drive him to get that taken care of. Oh, my goodness. Andy says, how many more years until you can retire, Rick? Fully
Me?
retire.
Well, I'm going to go another 3.5 years. So what I worked for several municipalities in New Hampshire, and they pay into the state retirement fund. So when I retired from the last job in New Hampshire 2.5 years ago, I collected my state pension. And the plan was to do some contracting work on my own, but that wasn't working out for various reasons. So there was an opening at a town in Vermont. It's about an hour away. So I took that job. So it's a full-time job, but I can work remotely some days. So I don't drive there 5 days a week. But after 5 years working there, so I started there in April of last year. After 5 years, I'll be 100% vested in the Vermont retirement system. So then so I have 3.5 years to go. I'll be 100% vested, and then I'll retire and I'll have that pension as well. So, and when I retired a couple of years ago, I didn't want to collect my Social Security. I wanted to let that accumulate and then start collecting it at age 70 and get more per month. So when I retire from this job, I'll have my New Hampshire state pension, my Vermont state pension, my Social Security, and then I've got some other savings. I don't know if they're 401ks or I forget what they are, but there's 3 others from other jobs that I had. So I'm hoping that when I do finally retire for good, that'll suffice income wise.
Get the heck out of New Hampshire. It's too expensive.
Yeah.
That's why we bailed.
Yeah.
It's crazy expensive out there. It's just nuts. And he said, wow, cool beans. Glad you're being taken care of after. Yes. Brian was 30 years with the post office until he fell and could not work. He has, along with being type 1 diabetic, he has cervical dystonia, which is a movement disorder. There's some weird noise in my headset. It's a movement disorder that he had to retire. He had a really bad fall. I'm pretty sure because of it. He fell 10 feet off a 12-foot 12-foot ladder, and broke his right heel, his left ankle, and his left wrist.
Wow.
He was out of commission for about 3 months. Couldn't put any weight on his right foot at all. And yeah, it was no fun.
So I wonder, I'll let you read that.
Come live in the mountains of North Carolina. We would love to have you. Or Kentucky or Tennessee, or it's nice down here. The whole East Coast is expensive. Yes, ma'am. So go ahead.
I wonder if he had the same sensation that I had 'Cause I had, after my accident, I was in the hospital in the bed for a month in wheelchairs. And so it was 3 or 4 months before I could even stand on my feet. When I finally did, I had this feeling like the skin on my feet was shattering into 1,000 little pieces. It
Woo,
was just
Brian, if you're
really,
listening, answer because I don't know that one. That sounds horrible. He's
um,
and remember he's type 1 diabetic and has been for 60 years. So he has
mm,
numbness in all his
oh,
digits,
yeah,
you know, somewhat,
yeah.
so that's a really good question how he felt when he was able to put weight on that foot. And I've been leaving a computer at work playing our longest playlist on loop. All righty.
Eh, yeah, so the first time I stood up, I was here. This is the kitchen that I'm in now, and I went over um, to the counter because I had to stand up. My wife was here, and our older daughter was here. They were going to help me up. So I wanted something in front of me so I didn't topple over, and I had the countertop that I could push on too. So they helped me up out of the wheelchair, and I held on to the countertop, and that's when my feet just, I think it might have been the nerves kind of coming back to life. It was just a strange sensation. Just like I said, it felt like the skin just shattering into 1,000 little pieces. So I stood for about 10 seconds and sat back down. Tried it again, stood for another 10 or 12 seconds, sat back down, did that about 3 times. And then the next day I stood for 15 seconds or 20 seconds. Uh,
Wow.
it
So
took a while.
how is your oldest daughter? How's she coping with everything?
That's difficult. And our younger daughter, it's maybe more difficult for her because she lives right down the road. Our older daughter lives about an hour and a half away.
Mm.
Our younger daughter lives right down the road, and she was here almost every day. So my wife was going places with her almost every day or watching. She has 3 children. So she was watching some of the children. My wife would watch some of the grandchildren while our daughter had to go somewhere with one of the others.
Right.
So it's a huge adjustment for that daughter.
So you have 2 daughters
Right.
left. How
Yep.
many grandchildren?
4. So our older
It's a
daughter has,
quiz. How old are they?
so the daughter in Vermont, her daughter is 18 years old, just went into college. She's going to be going to veterinary school,
Nice.
large animal vets. And then the younger daughter has a son that's 6. He'll be 7 next month. A son that's just turned 3, and then a daughter that'll be a year old next month. So 1, 2, 3, yep, 4.
That's pretty wild. Now, Brian commented here. Let me see. First, JJ said, I've got 8 to 10 years before I can retire. Jazz said, wait a minute. West Coast is expensive, especially California and San Diego. Yeah, but
Yeah.
in the Midwest here, it's not so bad. So Brian said, no, don't know what he said there. No standing in boots to get up and go to the bathroom. Oh, he had to wear a boot on both feet. That's no standing in boots to get up and go to the bathroom, but never lost the feeling in his feet, which is great because. But yeah, when it was a chore when he couldn't put any weight on that foot. It was crazy. And then he only had use of his right hand. And he's deathly. Here's a funny. All right, I'm going to make y'all laugh now. He is deathly afraid of needles. He's diabetic, used to have to do shots however many times a day. Type 1 is it totally insulin dependent. And he was okay as long as he holds the needle.
Huh.
Now, only had the use of this hand. He's on an insulin pump. I could not put all this in him because it had a needle involved. I would have to pinch the skin on his stomach so that he could use his right hand to pop that thing in, even though the needle is only about this long. He wouldn't let me do it because he is so afraid of needles. It cracks me up. I'm like, you are such a baby.
Yeah, I don't like watching needles when they draw blood. I don't like to watch the needles. I could do it if I had to, but I usually look away. But I
But I
watch
bet
them.
you sit up to get it done, though.
Yeah.
He has to lie down or he
Uh,
will pass out.
uh,
He doesn't watch it either. He does. I'm sure he
Yeah.
does not. But if he has to go get blood work done, the first thing he's got to tell him is, I got to lay down. When he got, poor Brian, when he, when he got his COVID vaccines, we got him done at a Walgreens in Nashua. And he went in and they didn't have a place for him to lay down. It was a little room. There's 2 chairs. I got my shot, no problem. They give him his shot and he's like this and he's fading down out of the chair right onto the floor. And he laid there for like 5 minutes. Weren't you afraid you get pricks in it? No, I wasn't afraid because he couldn't go anywhere, Jazzy. He was stuck. He pricked me with it. I'm not afraid of needles, but he pricks me with it. He's in trouble. But yeah, it was he's funny. He's just funny.
well, yeah, I'm not thrilled with needles, but I watched part of the surgery when they were inserting the
Oh
rods
heck
into it.
no.
I kind of came to and I started watching them. And they said, well, you don't want to see this. I said, yeah, I do. So they let me watch when they pounded the rod into my femur bone.
Woo. Brian said it's pick on the guinea pig day. Yep.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, before I had my knee replacements, I stupidly, and when I say stupidly, I mean stupidly, went on YouTube and started to watch a video of a knee replacement. Hell no, they brought out the saws and all this. I said, I'm done. That's it. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Just do it. And that's it. I couldn't finish watching it. It was so gross. It was like, oh God, they're going to do this to my leg. No, it was bad. Jazzy said, we love you, Brian, wherever you are in the living room or somewhere. He's in the other room somewhere watching. But yeah, he's a great guy. I have to pick on him because there are people outside this room waiting for us to get out to come in and get their vaccines. And here he's laying on this bare floor for 5 minutes because he's about to pass out if he gets up. All because of a little shot. I'm sorry. We all needed a laugh, right? It was like, whoa, shoot.
Yeah.
I'm mean. My sister tells me I'm mean all the time. Like, I'm not mean.
No.
So,
Well, my wife was having a blast when I came back from the hospital. They had me on, might have been heparin. It was a shot in the stomach for a blood thinner after the surgery I had, the accident I had. I had to take that even when I came home. And my wife, boy, she just enjoyed doing that. She enjoyed jabbing me with that needle.
Here's a good. I can imagine because if I could have used the needle on Brian, sometimes I would have done it. Now Brian has cervical dystonia, which is symptoms similar to Parkinson's. He's had deep brain stimulation surgery. And this is what he's talking about. Being awake during brain surgery was interesting.
Wow.
He had to be awake for this. Because when they put the leads in he's got a lead and he's got little bumps right here on his head. They've got a lead on each side that goes behind his ear, and they're attached to a battery in his chest. This is like one of the leads they put in, and they had asked him a question to make sure he was able to talk straight instead of out the side of his mouth. Yeah. The one side went in fine. The other side, he was like off the side. So they took it out and they reinserted it. That's why they wanted him awake. But I'm telling you, those crowns. I don't know if you've ever seen anybody that had surgery on their brain. They have to put this crown on their head that's 4 bolts here and here. It did not hurt. And they say your head, your brain has no pain receptors. And I looked at the doctor. I said, why the hell do we get headaches then? But it was funny. But yeah, he was awake for this. The night before surgery, the night before, I looked at him. I said, are you ready for this? And his dystonia, it's a progressive thing. It doesn't go away. It progressively gets worse. This surgery it's called a halo. Thank you, Andy. Thank you. And this surgery has helped him so much that one day we went in for a checkup with the neurosurgeon here in in Kentucky. And they wanted to do an MRI to find out the placement because it was done in Burlington, Mass at Leahy. And so he had to do an MRI. Well, to do an MRI, they have to shut this system off because the leads have to be deactivated to go in the machine. He couldn't walk. This man could not walk to go get the MRI. They had to get a wheelchair because his dystonia has gotten that bad. It is absolutely incredible what it has done for him. And it's a blessing. And I mean, he has good days. He has bad days. He has some really terrible days with his neck and the twitching and everything. And he's been tweaking that lately and all this. But the man can do so much. And I posted a really short video on couple of them, what he's been making and what he's been working on. And it's amazing to me. And Debbie has seen him do this stuff. The things he can do with this movement disorder he has and do it so perfectly. It floors me. He just amazes me every day. It's like, wow. Because it's such intricate work, like pens, turning it on the lathe. You got to be just so precise, and then he's doing all these. He's making all these coasters using a laser printer, and you've got to get it just right. You got to position everything just right, and cutting boards that he can personalize, and I mean all this stuff, and it just takes so much concentration, and. Debbie said, yes, Brian is amazing. He just, I mean, there a lot of people in the chat have met him, but to see him on a daily basis before he had his surgery, we were living in Nashua. I was sitting at the dining room table and watching him. He was fixing one of the lights right outside our side door on a ladder on this little bitty platform. And any other time his neck's moving and he's good, he was so focused on what he was doing. His head did not move. Yeah. And I'm like, wow. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, he got finished. I said, do you realize that there was no movement at all? He never paid attention to it.
Yeah.
But anytime he was dead focused, this was before it got really bad too. Before, like I said, before his surgery. But it was enough to deter him from doing some things on certain days, you know. But if he was so totally focused, there was no movement at all. And I'm like, this is weird. It's so crazy.
Huh.
But
Wow.
Jazzy wants to know, is Brian a carnivore or a ketovore? We typically, and this is both of us, we typically are ketovore. We mostly meat, very, very little vegetables, no fruit to speak of. Well, occasionally he'll have a few blueberries. I have some in the freezer that have probably been there for a while, and some strawberries. But overall, it's meat. We do enjoy keto chow, which, I'm going to talk about it eventually. And he likes his cashews. He does a walk by on the island and they're there. He'll grab some. But he's done so remarkably well. His diabetes as a type 1, his A1C has been pretty steady at 6.4. At one point he got to 6.1. When I met this man 20 years ago, his A1C was 17.
Wow. That's a big
He was
improvement.
lucky to be alive. When we moved from New Hampshire, it was 7.9. That was 3 years ago. And he started keto probably a few weeks after I did. And I started September 2020. And he jumped on board a couple weeks later. And it's just been a godsend for him. His A1C coming down, fighting with his doctor in New Hampshire, saying, "Oh, you need carbs." His endocrinologist, "No, you don't." I know nothing about keto chow, honey. You don't know what you're missing. What about you? Do you use keto chow at all, Rick?
No, none of the
Dude,
so-called
I have
keto stuff. No.
I have an affiliate link for the place that you can get a discount. No, it's so good. I have a serious sweet tooth. Serious. This really keeps it at bay. Between that and Chalk Zero, that's my other downfall. But that's kind of weaning off of that a little bit. But yeah, keto chow has, each serving has 1/3 of your daily vitamins and minerals and nutrients. I mean, it just, it's good. You can do shakes with it. You can make ice cream out of the shakes. You can use it for baking. I've used it for chaffles. That they have a drop biscuit recipe that they use their savory chicken soup stuff. I put birthday cake flavor in them and made it like a base for a strawberry shortcake. It was keto chow. It's very, very, very low carb, extremely low carb. And it's so healthy. I mean, Chris and Miriam are the creators of keto chow, the owners of the business. And when they created this product, their son had been having a lot of seizures. They created keto chow. He started drinking these shakes. His seizures went away.
Wow.
He got off of all kinds of medications. Jazzy has a question for you. Are you eating once a day, and do you drink coffee?
Some days, yeah, I'll eat once. Other days, I'll eat a small, call it a breakfast. It's usually around noontime. That's occasionally. So it's maybe 2 or 3 days out of the week, depending on the week, maybe 4 times. I'll have that small breakfast. It's usually an omelet or a couple of eggs. But my main meal is usually around 4 in the afternoon. And then that's it. I'm done. I don't eat anything after that.
What is your typical day of eating like? What do you eat?
Well, I mentioned earlier, it's mostly meat now. So it used to be when I get home, my wife would cook up the meal and I'd have some kind of meat. Could be beef, it might be chicken or pork or whatever. And then I'd have a couple of vegetables on the side. It would be cabbage or broccoli or spinach or whatever. Then it's probably around July, maybe August, I told her I wanted to cut out the vegetables and have just meat. So my meals are mostly just meat.
Carnivore,
Yep.
pretty much.
I mentioned earlier, I might once in a while I might have a small salad or something one day, or celery with peanut butter.
Mhm.
As far as coffee, I cut it out for a few months, but I went back to it again recently, just to have something at work. So I get a large, real large um, coffee on my way to work, and I just drink that in the morning. But I just started doing that this week. That's not every day. I think I had it 3 times this week. But I had gone probably, I don't know, 3 or 4 months maybe without coffee.
Yep. I don't drink coffee. Dustin
And the
rashes
coffee's
me
black.
about that all the time.
It's black decaf coffee that I have.
Hmm. Lisa says keto chow is yummy. And she's going to make the keto chow pumpkin soup. It's pumpkin sausage soup. It's so delicious to bring to work next week. And Jazzy's like, oh, I should look into keto chow. Yes, ma'am. Rick said, or Rick, do you fast for any number of days? Do you do
No,
any
not for
extended fasting?
multiple days. 24 hours, that'll be it.
Yep. I've done a couple 72-hour.
Yeah, I can't do that.
Well,
But I could
I
if I
can
had
do
to.
it. I can do it. And but the drawback is, I mean, you go 3 days without eating, you lose some weight. As soon as you start eating, that weight that you lost is coming right back. So it's like, what the heck did I just do that for?
Yeah. There's been a couple of times, 2 or 3 times in my life where I went 3, 4, or 5 days without eating. One time I was sick. I had some kind of E. coli poisoning. This was about 30 years ago. It's food poisoning or E. coli poisoning or something. So I didn't feel like eating. So I went about 5 days and I dropped 10 or 15 pounds. I put it all back on.
Yeah, as soon as
And
you
then,
start eating again.
yeah. Then when
It's a
our second
vicious
son
cycle.
died, I didn't eat for about 5 days. Just didn't have the desire to eat after our son died. So I went about
Of
5
course.
days without eating. But
That's-
normally, no, I'm not going to go multiple days without eating. 24 hours is about as far as I can go.
yeah, it's it's like I did an egg fast. Most people, if they do it, they'll do an egg fast for like 3 days, maybe 4 or 5. I did a 7-day. Loved it. Never tired of eggs. However, you cannot get enough protein in just eating eggs. I found
Yeah.
it out. So if I do it again, I'm adding keto chow to it. I will drink a shake with it because a shake of keto chow is like 26 grams of protein. And like I said, very low carb. It's like 4 total carbs for a serving. And you mix it with a fat of your choice. And I use butter and then water. That's it. So you're not getting any extra carbs. So it's a very low carb, very healthy product. And I love the people, I love the business, and I like the product. So
Yeah.
I'll push it.
I have to confess that I kind of broke that 24-hour or at least 20-hour fasting window after my wife died. I just this week got back to the normal eating period or eating schedule.
Mhm.
But for a couple of months, um, I just ate when just had nothing else to do and just was depressed. So I would eat. I put on 5 or 10 pounds. But I come home to an empty house. And so one thing I do is I buy cheese curds and blueberries for my grandsons because they love those. So I'll stop at the store and get those. That's about the only thing I buy at the grocery store. But anyway, I would buy the cheese curds and blueberries for them. Then I bring them home and I'd sit down and eat them. So I have to go back to the store the next day and buy more. And I promise myself I'm not going to eat those. I'll leave them there for the kids. And I get bored and bored and lonely sitting around the house here by myself. So I grab the cheese curds and the blueberries and eat them again.
Yep.
So I got back on my regular schedule this week.
Yep. Grief. Andy says grief is a personal journey. Making sure that you are doing okay and taking care of yourself is so important.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, like I said, everyone handles things differently, whether it's a loss or even with the keto, finding what works for you instead of listening to everybody else saying, well, you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't do this. Everyone has to do what's best for them in every situation. And they're the only ones that know what it is that's best for them.
Yeah.
Wow. I keep reading these.
Yeah. When our second son died, I spent some time eating in my car. So I was doing a lot of field work where I worked the job I had at the time where I worked. I was out inspecting properties. So I would just stop at the grocery store and get something and sit in my car for half an hour, and listen to the radio and eat. I did that almost every day. It was in that period I put on probably about 30 pounds after he died.
Yep. James said, once a week still. Once a week what, James? You've lost me. What is that? I keep hearing stuff. Are you hearing a background noise? Oh, my word. I don't know what the heck is going on. Ooh. My computer's possessed. I see a grief therapist once a week still. Okay, gotcha. Thank you. You lost me, James. You had to lead me down that path. But so any other questions for Rick? Or Rick, do you have anything else that you haven't gone over? Debbie hears the noise too. I don't know what it is. I honestly don't.
I don't hear it.
That's good.
Well, I would say my journey is multifaceted. There's a lot of reasons why I changed my diet. It's not just to improve blood glucose, not to lose weight. It's to improve my health, improve my physical health and my mental health.
Right.
What I would, if anybody else has similar experiences, all I can say is don't wait so long to make the necessary changes. That was basically what I did. I waited years before I finally changed my diet and changed what I had to change to improve my health. Get the help you need when you need it. Yes. And if the person you're going to, whether it's a doctor or whatever, if they're not giving you the proper help, find somebody else.
Absolutely. I have been really lucky with doctors. Wow, what the heck is that? I don't know what that is, folks, but it's driving me crazy and I'm sorry. Oh my goodness. Whoa.
Is it something in your house or something on the computer?
I don't have a clue. This is the only tab I have open. Anybody else in the house is out there. It's just Brian and Max, our dog, and they're quiet. It's something I don't know. Jazz
Huh.
says it sounds like somebody dragging a desk. And I'm telling you, it's in my I don't know what that is. James says mental health ketones 1.5 or greater. You're doing great, Rick. Thank you for inspiring me to do better self-care. Absolutely, Jazzy. That's like it's so important for everyone. You got to be you're your own best advocate no matter what. And everybody, regardless of anybody's situations, that's so important. My doctors, they know I am not going to just sit still and say, "Yeah, I'm going to take this. I'll take that." No. Don't try to give me any medicine. It's like my cardiologist. Oh my goodness. What the heck? All right. I don't know what that is. My cardiologist tried to put me on my ex cardiologist tried to put me on a statin, even though my chart says allergic to statins. Like, really? No. So my doctor now sent me to a different cardiologist. And I looked at him. I said, don't even ask because I'm not going to take them. So the last visit to him, he said, can I put you on a beta blocker? Because I get spells of tachycardia every once in a while. And it's supposed to prevent them. And I'm like, I will try it. Very low dose. And that's it. They were causing palpitations. I quit taking them. I called his office. I said, you can tell Dr. Who so and so I'm not taking these.
Hmm.
And I didn't take any more. It was like, oh, well, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyhow, but yes, Rick, I can't thank you enough. We've been at this about an hour and 45 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you backstage, reach out to me on Facebook, send me a request
Yeah.
because I
Okay.
couldn't find you. There were like several others, and I didn't think any of them were you. One said it was a writer. One said something else, and I'm like, I don't know. And the pictures just didn't line up.
Now,
So,
mine, I'm standing in front of a helicopter with my granddaughter and her friend.
yeah, I
Um,
don't even think that one
but
came up.
I don't have much personal information. I
Mhm.
didn't even want to be on Facebook. Uh, my my sisters and my cousins wanted me to get on Facebook, and I kept saying, "No, I don't want to be on that. No, 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 no." Then I found out that they had different groups, like motorcycle groups and tractor groups. So
Mhm.
I got on for those groups, but I really don't do much on Facebook.
Right.
But
Well, like I
I'll look
said,
for it.
well, that way we can connect through Messenger anyway.
Yeah.
But Jazzy says, Cindy, a someone, ghost, an angel is trying to connect with you. That could very well be because I totally believe in all that because I've lived through it all. But my mother in law passed away a year ago. And we just found out my father in law may be going into hospice. He's 90. He is suffering from Alzheimer's. Doesn't know anybody. Uh, Now he has a really bad cough and he's not eating. So,
Hmm.
yeah, we just heard from Brian's sister the other day, yesterday. So, yeah,
Too bad.
it could be my mother in law, you know.
Yeah.
But there's a live stream that Brian and I did, Jazzy. If you didn't see it, one of our Wednesday night lives where we talked about the stories that have happened in our house in New Hampshire. Woo! After Brian's late wife passed away. Thank you, Rick, for being here. I'm grateful for hearing your journey. I am as well. And all the prayers and thoughts are with you. We're all here for you, everybody. This has been so overwhelming. And I'm not going to do this again. But thank you so much, Rick. Thank you, everybody in the chat. Thank all of my members. And I'm just overwhelmed with that too. It's like, wow. And there's all that. Andy and Susan being my newest ones. When I started this channel, I never thought it would get to where it is. And it's not big, like God knows there are some big channels out there. Carnivore K, thank you both. You are so welcome. But I appreciate everybody that comes on and tells their story. Everybody that has just everything. We have the same thing. Yes. But
Well, thank you for having me on.
Anytime. If you ever want to come back, just let me know. But we will be watching for that video. Without a doubt. I will be watching and watching. So you got to go get that daggone new computer.
Yeah,
At your time, when it's ready, it'll go up.
Yeah.
No doubt. Because your wife is going to be expecting it. She's been watching you make it. And she's there waiting for it to happen. No doubt.
Yeah, I'm sure she's watching.
In my description of my videos, there is a join link. And let me know if it's not available, because then I'll have to figure something else out. Or if you're on Facebook, Jazzy, I have a Facebook support group where occasionally I'll post the link in there also. But yes, if you're on Facebook, just like I told Rick, send me a friend request and I'll invite you to the support thing. It is a private group, but I send out invites to all the friends that I have that are part of this community. Because what I do is I daily post positive thoughts and encourage anybody else to do that, or whatever foods they're having, where they can put anything on there, as long as it's respectful and nothing negative, because my life ain't about that. I'm too old for that crap. I am. I'm so sick of the negativity in this group, in this community. It's crazy. Thank you, Jazzy. So yeah. Anyway, I am not going to take up any more of anybody's time. I so appreciate it, unless you have something else, Rick.
I don't. Yeah,
all right. Jazzy said she's on Facebook. Yeah, just look me up. It's Cindy DeManch. I mean, I'm just so out there. It doesn't even matter. It's my name. I'm keeping it that way. Whatever.
Yep, I'll do it as soon as we're done here.
All right. Don't you go anywhere yet, Rick.
Right.
But I want to thank everybody else in the chat. And, I am overwhelmed that everybody is here weekly as much as you can be. And thank you so much. And you all have a great night. And I will see you with Brian next Wednesday and next Saturday with Andy and Susan. So that will be another fun one too. You all have a great night, and I will see you soon. Bye.
Night.